Alrighty, what is up, guys? Evan Aldo here. Appreciate you guys. Leave a like if you enjoy the content. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. If you're interested in seeing more of the content, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance, Ethereum today, a couple of the altcoins. Two main scenarios I want to talk about is the possibility of a little bit of an altcoin season. I think best case scenario, we're going to kind of see Bitcoin go sideways and we see like a mini altcoin season with some altcoins that could potentially pump. Polkadot and Avalanche, I'm keeping a close eye on because those look pretty good. Yeah, a lot of it depends on Bitcoin dominance. If we reject from this area, that's where you could see a potential altcoin season. Bitcoin going more sideways, ETH and a few of the alts, pumping up over the next 2 to 4 weeks. If we break through this, what I think you're going to see is, I guess it's possible you could see Bitcoin run to 40K while alts are kind of left in the dust still. But I think most likely, if you see the Bitcoin dominance really push through it, you're going to see more of a decline in the majority of the market with alts really bleeding against Bitcoin. That's kind of my main opinion on this. So let's get into the Bitcoin analysis right now. So I just wanted to keep this 200 weekly moving average on. And it's different this time. We'll talk about it, but that was the bottom there in 2015, bottom there. Different this time because the 200 weekly, it doesn't hold as much credence as it used to. It's kind of a joke. Down, It's not really down a lot now, breaking above it. It wouldn't even surprise me if you go below it and then go to 20K and come right back above it. You know what I mean? It's not what it used to be. Once everybody knows about something, it's not as good. But I would still say if you lose that area, it would flip this market a bit more bearish, I would say. Now, let's turn that off. And I want to just show you guys some things in the weekly here. So we're getting these split RSIs on the weekly, and they're starting to curve down here. What's interesting too is if you look at the Coinbase chart there, is it the same? I feel like the Coinbase chart there look a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely curving down a little bit more on the Coinbase chart, which is interesting. Usually it's the same. But you're seeing them, they're high up, they're starting to curve down. That doesn't mean you hit a top here, but it means, probably a lot of the rally could potentially be over. Can we still go up to 40K? Sure, but it means a lot of this rally is potentially over. Now, what I want to show you guys here is, look at this pattern. Blue triangle, green dot, up a bit more. If it's like this, and this is almost too similar. This is kind of, remember I was showing, I don't know if you guys remember, I was showing you this, Bitcoin compared to the NASDAQ on the monthly. It was almost too similar, and it would have been if it repeated like the NASDAQ here, you would have, continued downward. We finally broke that trend when we pumped up a bit more. But now it's kind of we're so in this trend. Just look at the bottom there, this bottom, this spot. It's like you're in a simulation. It's just so damn similar. And looking at that point and then some consolidation to pump up higher, I don't know, maybe we could break. And even the RSIs are pretty similar at that area too. This was a higher kind of anchor wave, and as soon as you confirm that, you just went up higher. With the money flow, I do see it being kind of an argument to come up to 40K. But with the RSIs very high and splitting down, that's argument to come down a bit here. So what's going to happen? Tough to say, really tough to say. We don't know, but you hedge your bets in a certain way, and I ultimately think the most important thing here for what I'm doing for long term is just DCAing in for likely around the next 10 months until January, based on this being in the red, similar to this area. I think this is just prime accumulation DCA zone. Sure, some people are FOMOing, that usually never works. Sometimes you could get lucky. I did a lot of FOMO back here in 2020, worked out really well. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. Obviously never financial advice, but I think the best strategy here is we're in an accumulation phase similar to there. I think best case scenario, you're going to see something more of like this, where you may miss out on a little bit, if we come up to 40K, but you're still going to make, if we come up to 40K pretty soon, I do think that that's so momentous that you're probably going to make a higher high. You're probably at least going to get up to 120 to 130 in the next bull run, if we do get up to 40K pretty soon. That's very momentous. But if we do break that pattern and start to come down, which it looks like, with the 2 week too, if you look at this area in the VWAP, see you got the red dot, bright down, red dot. This one was a little bit different, but you still came down a good amount. That was probably a 50% correction, if not more. Yeah, 35, okay, a little bit less. You'd think it was more because it was so long ago. The volatility was crazier, but let's say you get that 30% correction again. Where would that bring you to? test of 20K potentially again. So that's a good place to look. After you confirm that red dot, that would be like prime kind of upward DCA. Not to say, like, the thing too is we could get the curveball, as I've talked about a lot, with the recession. If you get that recession and Bitcoin just doesn't prove to be the hedge against inflation yet, I think it will be, at some point. But yet, if it doesn't prove to be the hedge against inflation yet, and you just follow traditional markets, that's where you start talking about potential lower lows in late to this year, maybe even into early 2024 potentially. So that's why I think the DCA area is pretty important. And I think, if I was to, what I think is based on what I'm doing DCAing in right now, potentially stopping in January, like even if you make a lower low, go to 10K or something real bad, anything's possible, into like sometime in 2024, you're not going to be that far off. You know what I mean? You're not going to be that far off. So that's what I'm kind of seeing right there. If we look at some lower time frames here, like the 5-day, for example, these split RSIs are really high and starting to curve down. We've never seen this before. Well, actually, I do stand corrected. We have seen, never this high with the RSIs, but the last time it was, split RSIs back here in July of 2015, that was a pretty big drop down. And if it's like that, that would be kind of you'd probably come down like the same thing I was just talking about, 20K again, maybe less chance to get in potentially at 20K, maybe, that's what we're looking at. Other thing too is the 4-day right here. So the 4-day, that's a pretty decent bearish div that doesn't come up too often. You saw that at the top, the exact top of the market, and then look what happened. That brought us down. So if you kind of map it out this way, you heard it here first, folks. We're going to probably negative 6K. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just saying. This does not look like that great of a time frame. Did we even? Yeah, in 2019 you came in there, and then you got those three red dots kind of, and then that was the end of it. So if you repeat something like that, and this is what I think is more likely, you do something of this nature. You get that summer lull or that end of year lull. That could potentially be a lower low. So that's what we're still potentially looking at. Again, I think for long term, the main thing right here is kind of DCA in until like end of year, early next year. Not financial advice, just what I think is going to work really well. Now, if we look at the daily too, this is getting a bit more. Let's actually go to the Coinbase chart now because I want to look at spiral lines and stuff. But if we look at the daily here, this definitely does not look good by any means, in my opinion. You're getting deeper into the red with money flow. Another red dot, it just looks like it wants to come deeper there. And then on your 12-day or 12-hour, this is a kind of decent rejection. This is making lower lows too with these momentum waves. Looks like it wants to roll back into the red. If it does roll back into the red, what could that lead us to? You could repeat something of, this crossover right here was a, 20% pullback. That could definitely bring us, down around 20% or so, 18%. You got the spiral line pocket right there, 24K. The places to look. And then if you look at like the 8-hour, this does not look good by any means in terms of money flow right here. If it's like this, you're at least going to come down a little bit more, maybe test 26.5. So that's what we're looking at right there. The 6-hour does not look good here at all. I do have a trade in right now in the Discord that I'm in right now, more of a swing trade. And I wasn't along, if you guys saw it from the other day in the short, got stopped out in profit last night, I believe. If you guys are interested in Discord, link in the description below. Really good community. I'm not right all the time, but we have had some really good trades in there, some good exclusive TA, mainly crypto, but I talk about stocks as well. So check it out. Link down below if you're interested. So trigger wave right there in the 6-hour has potential to bring us down farther. 4-hour doesn't look good. So again, and then you have, I guess, is this then not even a bullish div here in the 30? I'm trying to think of the low time frames give us anything. Not even bullish divs there. It's interesting. You theoretically, you're bouncing around 28K. You could come up. I think kind of the best case scenario here is you're going to either, stay more sideways, or you're going to stay more sideways as some alts and ETH continue to kind of pump and outperform Bitcoin for the next 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even just the next week. A lot of it's dependent on this. A lot of it's dependent on Bitcoin dominance. I don't know what's going to happen with this. The question here is like, can we pump through? If we look at this, it looks a bit more bearish. It's a pretty big bearish div. That would kind of, be the case to come down to maybe 40, back to 45, 40, 44 or so. maybe even, yeah, back here, 44.9. And that would be enough for ETH to have a nice pump up, for some select altcoins to have a nice pump up over the next 2 weeks. However, with this monthly, this looks as good as possible. It wouldn't entirely surprise me if this could just, if we see a big pullback here, this just shoots right through and then we're at, I don't know, 50% before we know it. Or, I mean, you got a little 48, that area. Really here, 51, 52. This could come up quickly, potentially. So that's what we got to keep in mind right there. Let's move on to ETH a little bit. ETH is hitting this big fib level right here. You are getting let's see if that's you're getting a bullish div on the 15 right now. This could actually be a good kind of scalp long right here. I do actually have a small ETH long in right now. A really risky trade, but I'm just kind of hedging my bet in a way where if ETH kind of just has that ETH season for a few more weeks, I could benefit maybe a little bit and hedge the bet in a good way here. But I am definitely not too confident on that just because of what I showed you on Bitcoin. I mean, this is a pretty big candle upward, a fierce rejection off of almost that spiral line right there. So, it definitely doesn't look as good as I would like it to. ETH does look a little bit better in Bitcoin, less bearish divergences, but I'm trying to think here. Yeah, it looks like you have a little bit continuation, higher money flow on the 12-hour. So I would say ETH definitely looks a little bit better than Bitcoin. Daily looks like you could potentially come back into the red here, green here. So I do think that ETH has a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but has a possibility, especially with this weekly coming into the green here. RSIs aren't even coming down yet. ETH's got a possibility of running a little bit while Bitcoin stays kind of sideways. That's what I'm looking at right there. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is some altcoins. Now, if you want to play around with altcoins right now, what I would do, or not financial advice, but what I'm doing is, I think Sol doesn't look that great. So Sol is one I would avoid, probably. I mean, you do have the trigger wave in the 2-day, 3-day. 3-day doesn't look terrible, money flow coming up, but you already came up a lot. I would probably look at the altcoins that are lagging behind a bit and look at this double trigger wave right here on Polkadot, bubble pop pattern. I'm waiting a few months to try to start getting into altcoins. I want to wait till Bitcoin dominance gets a bit higher, I think is the smart thing to do, but this might be it. If I wanted to mess around with Polkadot, probably right now would not be the worst place. AVAX as well, ones that lagged behind, nice bubble pop pattern, kind of that bounce off of that area, lagged behind quite a bit. Money flow doesn't look bad on the 3-day right there. If I was to mess around with some alts, it would probably be AVAX and Polkadot. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Discord down below. Also, check out the exchanges down below if you know how to trade. If you're an experienced trader, that is. Trading is obviously risky. You need to know what you're doing. So links down below. Risk management is key. If you sign up to any of those down below and deposit at least $100, I will give you 1 free month in my exclusive Discord. Just shoot me a DM in Discord with your UID, and I will get you sorted. So that should be all for now. I do have a trading course as well down below. Discount code BEARMARKET20, 20% off. So, yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the content. Have a good one. Goodbye.